There's a certain sound the city makes in November. Not the chaos of traffic or the buzz of people hurrying somewhere they don't want to be, but that quiet hum when the wind moves through the half-bare trees and everything smells like rain and coffee. I used to love that sound. Before everything changed, my name's Ethan Miles. I'm 28, born and raised in Portland, Oregon, the kind of city that looks like it's always thinking. People here drink coffee like it's oxygen, wear flannel unironically, and talk about finding themselves at least once a week. That I wasn't looking for anything, though. Not love, not meaning, not even change. I had my small apartment above a record shop, a 9-to-5 job designing websites for local businesses, and a few friends I met up with on Fridays. My life was predictable, and I liked it that way until she showed up. I first saw her at Harbor Cafe, the one across from the river. She sat by the window, headphones on, sketching something in a worn-out notebook. Her hair was tucked under a gray beanie, and she had this focused look, like the whole world had disappeared except for the line she was drawing. That I was supposed to be meeting a client, but he texted me he'd be late. So I ordered another coffee and watched her for a while. Not in a creepy way, just curious. When she looked up and caught me staring, I froze. But instead of frowning, she smiled. A soft, tired kind of smile. The kind you don't see much anymore. That was how it started. A few days later, I saw her again. Same spot, same sketchbook. I don't know what got into me, but I walked over and said, "You draw like someone who's trying to fix the world." She looked up, eyebrow raised. "And you talk like someone who's trying too hard." I laughed. So did she. Her name was Lila. We started talking more, little conversations that turned into hours without us noticing. She was an art student from Seattle, recently moved to Portland after breaking up with her boyfriend. He wanted stability, she told me one night. I wanted freedom. She had this energy that made everything around her brighter. The kind of light you don't realize you've been missing until it hits you. That I told her about my life. My boring job, my fear of taking risks, how I'd lost my dad when I was 19, and somehow never got around to living after that. Lila didn't judge. She just listened, her eyes soft, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup like she was drawing invisible patterns. That we started meeting every evening. At first, it was coffee. Then it became walks along the river, watching the lights shimmer on the water. Then dinners. Then laughter that lasted past midnight. And one night, she kissed me. Tea wasn't planned. We were standing outside my building, rain starting to fall, and she just looked at me and said, "You make silence feel safe." Then she leaned in. That kiss didn't feel like the start of something new. It felt like coming home. For a while, everything felt easy. We spent weekends exploring old bookstores, cooking weird meals that somehow worked, watching the city fall asleep from my window. But perfect things don't stay perfect. That I noticed at first when she started canceling plans, saying she was tired or needed space. I try not to push. I knew she had her art projects, her freelance deadlines. But part of me felt her pulling away, not out of boredom, but out of fear. One night, I found her sitting on my floor surrounded by sketches. Dozens of them. All of the same thing. A faceless man standing by the river. "Who is he?" I asked quietly. She looked up, eyes wet. "Someone I can't forget." It hit me like a punch. She told me about her ex, Noah, the guy she left in Seattle. They'd been together for 5 years. He'd proposed, she'd said no, and he'd walked away. "I thought I was over it," she whispered. "But some days, I still feel like I'm running from something. I wanted to be mad. I wanted to walk away. But I couldn't, because I knew what it felt like to lose something and never really heal. I stayed. Weeks passed, and things got harder. Lila started disappearing for whole days. When I asked, she'd say she was working on a project. But her eyes told me there was more. One night, I followed her. I know how that sounds. Desperate, maybe even wrong. But my gut told me something was off. She went to the old pier, the one closed for renovation. And there, under the orange glow of a street lamp, she stood painting on a massive canvas, colors spilling everywhere. When she saw me, she didn't yell. She just said, "I didn't want you to see me like this." "Like what?" I asked. Like someone still trying to figure out who she is. I walked closer, looked at her painting. It was the river, the skyline, and a single small figure on the bridge. But this time, the figure had a face. Mine? I'm painting my way out of the past, she whispered. You're the reason I still believe there's something to paint toward. That night, for the first time, she told me she loved me, and I believed her. When winter came, Portland turned quiet. The streets were half empty, the sky permanently gray, and the air smelled like wet asphalt. Lila and I spent most nights wrapped in blankets, talking about everything and nothing. Our childhoods, our fears, our dreams. But under all that warmth, I could still feel something fragile between us, like a glass floor that could crack if we said the wrong thing. One night in December, she got a call while we were cooking dinner. She stepped outside to take it, and when she came back, her face was pale. "What's wrong?" I asked. "It's Noah," she said softly. He's sick. He asked to see me." For a second, everything in me froze. Every insecurity I had, every fear that I wasn't enough, that she still loved him, came crashing back. But I just nodded. "Go," I said, "if you need to." She looked at me like she couldn't believe I'd said that. "Are you sure?" "No," I admitted, "but go anyway." She left the next morning. No promises, no wudbiekis. Just a quiet look that said, "Please don't hate me for this." Those 3 days felt like a lifetime that I went to work, went home, didn't eat much. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was her. But it wasn't. When she finally came back, she looked different. Not broken, just quieter. We sat on the couch without talking for a while, the city humming outside the window. Then she said, "He's going to be okay." It wasn't as bad as they thought. I nodded, trying to hide the relief that came with that. She looked at me then, really looked. "Ethan, I didn't go there because I still love him. I went because I needed to forgive him. And myself." I didn't know what to say, so I just took her hand. She leaned against me, whispering, "You're the first person I've ever wanted to come back to." And in that moment, I realized love isn't about holding someone tight. It's about trusting that even if they walk away, they'll find their way back. The following year was a slow rebuild. Lila got a gallery internship downtown, and I quit my corporate job to start my own freelance business. It was terrifying, no paycheck, no stability, just me and a laptop, but she pushed me to do it. "You build websites for everyone else's dreams," she told me one night. "It's time to build yours." We started sharing a tiny apartment near the river. It had leaky pipes, squeaky floors, and the world's loudest neighbor upstairs, but it was ours out on Sundays. She painted in the corner while I worked at my desk. Sometimes we didn't speak for hours, but the silence was different now. It wasn't empty. It was full that we grew, both separately and together. We fought sometimes over money, over time, over little things that didn't matter. But every fight ended the same way, with one of us whispering, "Don't go to bed angry." And we never did it. In March, my mom called from back home in Eugene. "Ethan," she said, her voice trembling, "I need you to come home. It's your uncle. He's gone." My uncle had been like a second father to me after Dad died. Losing him, it hit me harder than I expected. I left for a few days to help with the funeral and family affairs. Lila wanted to come, but I told her to stay. Her gallery had its opening week. The funeral was quiet, gray, full of memories I didn't want to unpack. And then, out of nowhere, my old fear came crawling back, that everything good in my life could disappear while I wasn't looking. When I got home, Lila wasn't there. Just a note on the table. I need a few days to clear my head. I promise I'll come back. Ed." I remember just standing there, staring at those words until the ink blurred. Those were the hardest days I'd had since losing my dad. The apartment felt like a museum of her. Half-finished canvases, coffee mugs with lipstick marks, a sweater on the chair. I didn't know where she went, but something in me refused to chase her. Maybe because deep down, I knew this wasn't about me. It was about her learning to stay. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to point 3 weeks past. And then, one morning, I woke to a knock on the door. When I opened it, she was standing there, hair messy, eyes red, holding a small painting. "I went to the coast," she said. "I needed to remember who I was before everything." She handed me the painting. It was us, sitting on that cafe window ledge, the river behind us, the world moving on, but us frozen in time. "I painted this," she said softly, "because I realized something. Every time I run, I end up painting you back into the picture. I didn't say anything. I just pulled her into my arms that a year later, on a quiet summer night, we went back to the Harbor Cafe, the place where it all began. She was sketching again, lost in her thoughts when I placed something on the table. A small box, she froze. Ethan, I smiled. Before you say anything, I'm not asking for forever. I'm asking for tomorrow, and every tomorrow after that, as long as we keep choosing each other. Her eyes filled with tears. You're terrible at speeches, she whispered. I know, I said, laughing. So just say yes already. She did. And when she kissed me, I swear the city outside stopped moving, that it's been 3 years since that night, that we still live in the same small apartment by the river. It's messy, full of art supplies and takeout boxes and laughter. Sometimes I wake up to find her painting before sunrise, her hair falling over her face, the light catching her cheekbones just right. Other mornings, she'll wake me up with coffee and say, "You still snore like an old man." We're not perfect. We never will be. But we learned something that took both of us years to understand. Love isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about finding someone who reminds you that you were whole all along. When people ask how we met, I tell them, in a cafe, over bad coffee and a good mistake. And when they ask if it was worth it, all the confusion, the distance, the pain, I just smile because I still hear it sometimes, that quiet sound of November, the one that started it all. Only now it sounds like home.